Hey, little champs. Welcome to Peaceful Whisper. In a quiet corner of the world where the breeze sang softly through the tall golden grass and the stars peeked shyly through the evening sky, lived a tiny mouse named Milo. Milo was no bigger than a teacup and quieter than a whisper. He lived with his mother in a cozy little burrow beneath the roots of an old, wise oak tree. Their home was warm and smelled of dried flowers and sweet straw. Though life was simple, it was good. But lately, something had changed. Milo sat at the mouth of the burrow, his tiny paws tucked under his chin, watching the fields sway with the wind. The grass didn't dance the way it used to. The clouds seemed slower, and the sun didn't smile quite as wide. You see, it hadn't rained in many, many days. The stream nearby had trickled into silence, and the once green meadow was turning brown and tired. The berries that grew wild had vanished. Even the bees had stopped humming. Everyone in the meadow was worried, and though Mama Mouse always had a brave smile and kind words, Milo noticed she'd begun to cut the crumbs a little thinner and save the warmest blanket for him at night. One evening, as the sky melted into sleepy shades of lavender and peach, Milo turned to Mama Mouse and whispered, "Will everything be okay, Mama?" She didn't answer right away. She just wrapped her tail gently around him, the way she did when he was just a baby. Then, in the softest voice, she said, "I believe so, my sweet Milo. Even when things seem too big to fix, even when we're small, a little hope can grow into something mighty." Milo blinked. "But I'm tiny, Mama. What can someone tiny do?" Mama smiled and nudged a tiny wooden box toward him. Inside, nestled on a soft piece of cloth, was the smallest seed Milo had ever seen. "A mustard seed," she said. "One of the smallest seeds in all the world. But when it's planted, and when it's watered with faith, it grows tall and strong, like a tree. Even birds come to rest in its branches." Milo stared at the seed. It was smaller than a breadcrumb. Could something that small really make a difference? That night, as the stars blinked above, Milo held the mustard seed close to his heart and made a quiet promise. He would plant it, not because he was sure it would work, but because, deep down, he hoped it would. The next morning, before the meadow woke, Milo padded softly through the dry grass until he reached the foot of the old oak, the wisest tree in all the land. The old oak had seen many seasons, many storms, and many miracles. Its bark was gnarled with time, and its voice was low and gentle, like wind through a hollow log. Milo stood very still and said, "Great oak, I have a mustard seed. I want to plant it, but the ground is dry. There's no rain. I don't know if it'll grow." The tree creaked softly and replied, "Little one, even the tallest tree begins with hope. Plant it not with certainty, but with faith." So, with trembling paws, Milo dug a tiny hole beneath the oak's roots and placed the seed inside. He covered it gently with dust and closed his eyes. "Please grow," he whispered. "Even just a little." And every day after that, Milo returned. He brought the seed drops of dew he collected on leaves. He sang to it in his quietest voice. He shielded it from harsh winds with twigs and petals. Days passed, then weeks. Others in the meadow shook their heads. "It's too dry," the sparrow said. "Too late," sighed the squirrel. But Milo just smiled a tired little smile, because something in his heart kept whispering, "Keep hoping. Just a little more." One morning, just as the sun peeked sleepily over the hills, Milo tiptoed to the oak tree and gasped. There, breaking through the soil, was a tiny green sprout. Delicate, shining with dew, alive. He jumped and twirled with joy, his eyes bright and full of wonder. "You did it!" he cheered. "You really did it." The old oak let out a low laugh. "No, you did it, little mouse. You believed, even when no one else did." The days that followed were still dry, but the wind carried whispers of change. Clouds began to gather. Just a few at first, then more. A soft rumble echoed through the hills, and one evening, the first drop of rain in many weeks kissed the meadow. Then another, and another. The parched grass turned green again. The berries returned. The bees danced. And the little mustard sprout? It grew and grew. By the end of the season, it had become a tall, strong plant with bright yellow blossoms. Birds came to perch on its branches. Butterflies fluttered around it. And at its roots sat Milo, now a little older, a little braver, and full of quiet strength. One day, a younger mouse from another burrow scampered up and asked, "How did you do it? How did you make it grow?" Milo smiled and handed the little one a tiny mustard seed. "I didn't make it grow," he said gently. "I just believed it could, even when it felt too small. Even when I felt too small. Sometimes hope is the tiniest thing, but it can change everything." And that night, as the stars twinkled above and the meadow sang with soft winds and rustling leaves, Milo curled up beside Mama Mouse and whispered, "I think maybe faith is like a mustard seed." Mama Mouse smiled, her eyes warm with love. "Yes, my sweet. And you've planted more than just one. Thanks for watching, champs. Just don't forget to like and subscribe."